Dorcas was born one of 7 children had by Lena Belcourt and Eddie Kellio. She was born on September 29, 1960. They grew up in modest beginnings, a big clan living in a small town like Chetwed. They had each other, and trust me, I'm sure those little shits got into a lot of trouble. I'd imagine them drinking at the water tower, hitchhiking to the lake, or drinking out in the bush. Basically, just getting into as much trouble as they could. So we all know Sesame Street shenanigans. And there, of course, was their fair share of drama as well. But you know what else there was? A real sense of community. All the families looking out for each other, helping each other out whenever they could. Family was everything. Now, some say I should paint a pretty picture, like everything was all and well and as it should be. But that's not me, and that's not how my mother would want me to tell the story. Like any family, there was hardships and plenty of trauma. My grandfather was a wanderer of sorts. Now I know where I get it from. My gypsy soul. Just like my mother, who got it from her father and shared it with me. My mom never had it easy. She was born of the hard knocks life. She had my brother Curtis when she was 15, and then had me when she was 20. When I was born, my parents were just babies themselves, just trying to make sense of it all. My mom had met my dad when she moved to Fort Nelson. She was just there working for a while and visiting my Auntie Shirley. And then she met my dad at a house party, as one does, in an even smaller town than Chetwed. They were hanging out a while, and then she met her best friend, Holly, and Holly's boyfriend was Jigs, and they were all friends with my dad and the family and, my dad's friends as well. So they were all having a great time that summer. Then it was time for her to go. Well, they didn't want to part. They'd built a bond already. Somehow it turned out she went and asked Holly's family if she could stay with them, and they said yes. So she stayed. Yeah, they ended up even working at the mill together, I believe. She'd drive some heavy equipment. She was badass. I know they had a happy life too. They had this little house, and my Uncle Doug lived with them. He was this amazing, amazing human. I was really close to him. It's almost like him and my mom were best friends. And my mom was stunning. She was just so beautiful. My dad had said that, every boy and man in Fort Nelson, had their eye on her, but he was the lucky one. She was always dressed to the nines, makeup done, hair done, probably like Farrah Fawcett or something, I'm imagining. And I think Doug was just kind of enamored with all of that, being the gay man that he was. So he just loved spending time with her. And then when I came along, he was obsessed. My dad even says it. So did a lot of my family members that were around that time with them, saying, no one could touch me. You'd basically have to ask Dougie permission to hold me. And he'd dress me up, put little pigtails in my hair, I'm sure. So that was a happy time. I do have a picture of the 3 of them, and basically their heads are just tilted back and they're laughing and they're all arm in arm. It's one of my favorite photos, actually, because, well, it's 3 of my favorite people. One prominent thing that always stood out: love. So after her divorce, we made the tragic mistake of moving to the Yukon. I hated it. It was minus 50. I had to walk to school. It wasn't for us. So we hauled it back to Chetwed, where she met Wes. And the rest is history. Now, these 2 had a lot of years together. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of love, and a lot of fishing. And they also had a baby together. That baby was Rudy. He was this big, beautiful, majestic creature. I'm sure you see him on one of the front posters up there. That's why I used that photo, because that was my mom's last baby. They were truly happy together. They had their nice little family, the 3 of them. Anyway, that was my mom's last baby, and she cared about that dog more than life itself. It was her constant protector and guardian. When she was sick, he would literally go find help. I witnessed this with my own eyes. So when I say that my mom is up there in heaven or wherever we go with all of her past loved ones, I know she's with Rudy. I know he's by her side. The last few times I had spent with her, I had asked her to tell me about her favorite moments in life. That was definitely one of them, fishing with Wes and Rudy. They'd have their long road trips to Alabama's greatest hits playing in the background. That was really special for her. Another one of those memories, and as she describes as one of the best times of her life, was mushroom picking in the Nass Valley with her father, Eddie. He'd take her to all, his spots, and he had this one across this wild, raging river, the Nass. And we used to use a rope and pulley system to get the tiny little tin boat across. And it was terrifying. I myself made that journey more than once. The rapids, that wild, raging river, it was really scary. But it was the best spot. And hey, he even had his own grizzly bear over there. So, and you could literally hear that grizzly stalking, no joke. I heard it with my own ears as well. But anyway, that was a spot, and it was like a journey to get there. But once you were over there, away from the water, it was peace and quiet, serene, just, as far as the eye could see, beautiful, mossy, rolling hills. And finding a pine mushroom under that moss bed is something magical. I even love it. And I told her I was gonna go mushroom picking. I was gonna keep that tradition going in her name, in Eddie's name, and our family's name. Because we, at one point or another, had made that journey with the family. So she told me all of her favorite picking spots. I wrote them all down. And I'm gonna go. I'm gonna make that trip. My mother was extremely close with her dad, but had a struggled relationship with my grandmother, Lena. They never really mended their fences, sadly. I was actually talking about it with my dad the other night. He said, "You know what? I think that really bothered your mother. And it kind of does make sense. She always had that little missing piece in her heart where Lena should have been. You won't find any baby pictures of my mother. There are none. And that truly makes me sad. Sad that I have no idea what my mother looked like as a baby. Death came too soon for a lot of my family. In some ways, we've been plagued with a lot of grief and sorrow. We live on for them. We are strong and we keep them alive in our memories. And that's how they'd want it. I want to tell you right now, death came for my mother many times. Like several times. She chose to ignore it. She was a fighter. You can also say my mom liked to speed. And I'm pretty sure I got that from her as well. So for all of you that know me, know that I'm a new driver. And possibly have a heavy foot. So this could only happen to me. We are heading down to see my mother. And I know it's going to be the last time that I see her. And so I wanted to pick up Lena in Paris on the way. So we're driving and, I'm going pretty fast at this point because I'm anxious to get there. So we pull into the Heart in Prince. And at this point, I'm frantic. I'm like so close, but so far, like she could pass away at any second. So I'm swerving, I'm becoming hysterical, and I don't even realize it. Lena and Paris are probably just terrified at this point. All of a sudden, a black unmarked car puts on the microphone and the lights. And it's like this intercom speaker comes on. Pull over to the side of the road. Me and Lena look at each other like, oh my God, what's going on? It's like something from a movie. I don't know the Heart that well, so I'm trying to find a safe spot. Again, he comes over the speaker. Pull over to the side of the road. I finally find a safe spot, and he tells me, remain in the vehicle. Again, over the big speaker. If it wasn't so sad, it would be hilarious. So I open the door, and I put my hands out first, and I say, I'm getting out. And he says, ma'am, please stay in the vehicle. I repeat again, I'm getting out. So I get out only to completely crumble and collapse on the ground. Yes, I know, very dramatic. So unlike me. At this point, I am dry heaving. I'm hysterical. He comes up in shock. He's like, "What's going on?" I said, "My mom is dying. She's dying right now. This might be the last time I get a chance to see her. Please, I need to get to the hospital right away." He backs off. He says, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea. You're free to go." I said, "I just don't know the quickest way to get to the hospital." He said, "Ma'am, follow me." And I literally got a police escort to the very front door. Anyway, when we got out, he says, "My mom just recently passed, and I had a chance to be with her, and I really want the same for you. So good luck." And I just said to him, I said, "You know what? I'll never forget you. Thank you so much." And it just really restored my faith in humanity that day. Okay, so when I first get to the hospital, I ran. I left Lena and Paris behind in the dust. I get up to the room, and I kindly and politely ask everyone to leave. I say, "I'm sorry, but I gotta be alone with my mom. Everyone out." Got up real close, and I cried a little, and she squeezed my hand, and a little tear rolled down her cheek. She was letting me know that she didn't want me to cry. You see, at this point, she'd already lost consciousness a few hours before, but she was there. So I just laid it all out on the line. I said, "You know what? Me and you had a good long run. I want to let you know that I have no regrets. We did what we could with what we had, and that was enough." You see, my mom was always scared of dying. I think that's why she held on so long. So this is what I said to her. I said, "There's no such thing as death. This is just another stage, the next step. They're all waiting for you." I said, "I know this with all of my soul, all of my being, that this is just another step. Death does not exist." I said, "Go to them." She squeezed my hand, and I knew she wasn't scared anymore. She peacefully went into that good night. I didn't really know how to comfort her. It all just seemed so foreign and surreal to me that this was even happening. And the nurse could sense that. So she said, "You know what?" She said, "Sometimes I like to tell the loved ones, play some music. Play the music she loved." And so I found a good, soft rock, but oldies kind of playlist. And I played that about an hour for her before she passed. Me, Lena, and Wes were in the room. It was so quiet and peaceful, just the music in the background. Lena was on one side, I was on the other, and Wes was at the foot of the bed. And Wild Horses came on by the Rolling Stones. And that was her last song. She passed to that song. And I don't know why, but it just felt so right. She was wild and free. And she was like a wild mare. And now she could just dash up in heaven forever. I want to take some time right now and say thank you for today to come celebrate my mother with us. I appreciate you all. And I know that she's here with us. And I know she's an absolute joy watching us celebrate her today. And yes, we may cry, but we're crying in a way that's letting her know that she's missed, but we're joyous because we know she's not in pain anymore. She's free. Just know, we didn't lose her. When you lose something, you can't find it. I know exactly where my mother is right now, and she is love. One of my favorite memories of my mom was driving around in her cherry red Mustang. We would put the top down and cruise around Edmonton, listening to Crowded House. We felt free, just me and her, wind blowing in our hair, music blasting, truly happy. No matter how hard times are, no matter how much you bicker or bitch, it's the people around you that make up a whole life.